It has been quite a long time. I went up like a 2-week Euro trip, and I've been busy recently, so my video capacity making thing has not been very good recently. But I really would like to thank you guys because the wiring video, like part 1, has like almost 100 views. I mean, like, that's amazing for me. I mean, that's how many views I thought I would get in like a year, like cumulatively. Like, all my videos combined only reach up to 100 views, but apparently one video got that much. So I really thank you guys for viewing. Apparently I'm also getting like one question from one guy, which is totally awesome. I really appreciate you guys asking me stuff. It's really nice to have you guys. So moving on to probably maybe a difficult concept, but a very important one, and it is called variables. Now we're gonna have a little mini algebra lesson here. So I wrote in text over here, x equals 7, x plus 6 equals 13, and x minus 5 equals 2. So as we know from math, this is a variable. This letter here is a variable, and that is a placeholder for a certain value. So if x equals 7, and then we look over here, x plus 6 equals 13, simply because x is 7, so this is practically 7 plus 6 equals 13. Next one, x minus 5 equals 2. X is practically 7, so this is going to be 7 minus 5 equals 2. And that's your mini little algebra lesson. Over here, I do have the suitcase block, which is the variable right here in the data section. And then you realize that if you look down here, you do have several options. I will go to that later. Please do note right here, you still have logic, number, and text values. So you do have the green, yellow, and red, orangish value wires over there. You still have that. That is never going to go away. So let's pull up something here. I'm going to grab a math block. I'm going to just wire this in here. 5. Okay. So let's assume x equals 7. At this point, this variable does not hold the value of 7, but let's assume it does just for the sake of this example. So I'm going to get 7, which is what this variable is holding, which is x. I'm going to add it by 5, and this end result here is going to be whatever the addition of these two numbers is, which is going to be 12. So it's going to be 7 plus 5, and it's going to equal 12 because this is holding the value of 7. Alright, so sorry about that. If I move on to logic or text, you realize that you still get the broken wire, but if I move on to any other number value right here or here, it is going to be fulfill that value. Okay, I'm going to go to one of the options that the variable has, and this is the read and write. So if it's read, you realize that this data hub right here is only going to be outputted. But if I touch this write button here, it's gonna have a double. So remember what I said before, if it's a double-sided hub, it's gonna give you a broken wire because you need an input value. Basically, what the read function does on this variable, it allows you to declare the variable by inserting values or declaring it yourself. So okay, I'm gonna give you several examples. So let's say I have an ultrasonic. You know what? How about this? Let's get a rotation sensor. Okay, so let's say my motor A ran 2 forward rotations and 720 degrees. That means X is now going to hold the value of 720 since it's going to be inserted through here. Now, if I did get a variable later on, make sure it's X so it's the same one, and I were to add it by whatever value I wanted it to. So let's add another I don't know, 20. Okay, so 720 is going to be inserted to the variable random whatever you want to put here, and then if you have the X again, it's going to still hold this value of 720. It's going to insert right here, it's going to add it by 20, and the end result right here is going to be 740. That's how the write function works. Let's try another one. Okay, yeah, whatever. Just bring the ultrasonic sensor back. Distance, let's say it detected 1 feet 12 inches, that this variable x is now going to be 12. And you don't really have to have the double variable like this all the time in order to have the output as well. You can simply just declare it, and then if you really wanted to use it later on, then you can just simply get that variable. Oops, wrong one. And you can always use it again. So right there. Another reason, or another way you can declare a variable is manually putting it right here. So if I were to put 7, this variable is going to equal 7. You're manually declaring this variable, because what if, okay, variable's default is either going to be no text, 0, or possibly true. I'm going to have to check up on the logic one, but I believe the default one is true. Default number wise is going to be 0. So even if you want this to be 7 to begin with, it is not going to be 7. It's going to be 0. So what this is going to do is it's going to make it 7 before we start. Let's say you have a variable for like a certain program that requires the variable not to be 0 to begin with, then you gotta manually insert it in there. And that is practically what the read is. So instead of having other values be inserted into this, you can just do it yourself. It's a do-it-yourself thing. And then if you, in this case, if you wanted to pull out that variable again, then you're gonna have to get this x, and you're gonna have to insert it in there in order to make it happen for this specific case. Okay, last thing I want to show you about these variables is how to name them really. So you realize that this logic 1, number 1, text 1, and this is x. If you get a variable right now and you put it there, you realize that you're gonna have these 3 but not the x. So where exactly did this x come from? Well, alright, so this is gonna require you to do this. I want you to go to edit, go down, define variables, and you're going to get this window here. And you realize that you do have the name, you have the type, and then you have this. Now, if I were to create a variable, it's gonna give me variable 1. So let's just say, okay, let's just make the variable called LOL, right? And we're gonna have the data type, so it's gonna be either logic, number, or text, however you want it. And then let's just make it logic. And if you ever wanted to delete the variable, like let's say I just wanted to delete x, I can just delete that. However, if the variable is already being used, it's not gonna let you delete it. So I'm gonna just delete LOL just to demonstrate. Yeah, so you're just gonna immediately delete the variable if it is not used over there. So we can create another one. Let's just name it variable 1 because I'm a very lazy person. And then we can close that. You go back to this variable. You realize that, lovely, variable 1 is here. It has the green wire. It's working just fine. Now you can insert various other values into this one. That is pretty much all I have to teach you about variables. I'll probably give you examples later. So thank you for waiting on me for a while. Thank you for coming back, and I'll see you guys later. Please subscribe or comment or feedback or spread the word about my videos. That would be much appreciated. Many thanks, everyone.